1, debate. Knockdown, drag out, spirited, but honorable debate with Democrats on Signal Chatgate. Plus, if I offer you a plane ride filled with Fox News personalities and you get to pick the seat, who are you going to sit next to? Put that to you today here on The Will Cain Show. 2, Kirk Cameron debuts a new show, Iggy and Mr. Kirk, and he announces it here today with us. 3, Senator Jim Banks of Indiana on defunding NPR and the confirmation of Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya to lead America's health agencies. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. Terrestrial radio, 3 dozen markets across the great United States of America, but always on demand by subscribing at Apple or on Spotify. Set a reminder at YouTube or Facebook, and join us every day at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Jump into the comments section, become a member of the militia. What's up, fellas? Tinfoil Pat, Two-A-Days Dan, Young Establishment James. We have a little conversation to be had this morning. We have a little bit of an accountability bowl, and we have a little bit of time to revisit the knockdown, drag-out debates. So let's get to that with no further ado. Story number 1. The last couple of days here on the Will Cain Show, we have managed to, I think, in some respects, hit our stride. Capture a bit of the spirit that I want to have, not as our brand and not on a day-to-day basis, but is certainly something that we would like to do that I think is somewhat still unique in the media landscape. A few weeks ago, we had someone on the show. I'm trying to recollect who exactly said this phrase. I believe it was comedian Andrew Schultz, who said so much of media has turned into dunks and reacts. And I agree. And I find that that's the way the internet works. We get slam dunks on opposition's head, and we get reacts to insanity. And all that's fine and good, and I'm not here to tell you there's no place for that. But it's like eating Lucky Charms all day. I mean, at some point, you're not getting any nutrition. And I still think there's something more to be had when it comes to conversation. Not even what I would really reframe as debate, although I do enjoy debate. And it should serve as a warning, I think, for any elected official or politician to maybe go back and watch 5 years' worth of tape on ESPN's First Take. If you come into the Will Cain Show, you might be in a place where you end up in a debate. And I might offer a debate over the quality of Jameis Winston as a starter for the New York Giants is more difficult than inconsistencies of someone who calls for the resignation of the Secretary of Defense in one instance and is silent when the Secretary of Defense goes AWOL or leaves 13 dead servicemen in another instance. I give you a little bit of my conversation yesterday with Congressman Jason Crow. Congressman, in fact, I do have some of your words right here. So this is what you told CPR News, which is a Colorado news agency. Back in 2023, you said, I do think the withdrawal from Afghanistan was messy. It was chaotic. There were a lot of mistakes that were made, and I haven't pulled punches on that. And then you go on to say in that same interview, but there are lessons learned, and I take a holistic look and not look at it through a small frame. So you admit that it was a mistake. You know that it was connected. I agree, by the way, it is apples and oranges, because in this situation, 13 Marines actually died. So I agree, they're not apples to apples comparisons. But on this particular mistake, you didn't demand anyone's resignation. And so I don't find it principled that now you do when nothing happened other than a successful military operation was executed. It seems to me, Congressman, that what you're doing is playing politics, not principles. Operation. That's a little bit of the back and forth. It was more than a 5-minute debate. I'd probably say it was 7 to 8 minutes. We gave it a lot of time, and he got to say his piece. He laid out to me how he thought it compromised the security of America's pilots who were leading a bombing effort over Yemen, that Secretary Hegseth had a real-time update an hour before this operation began to take place. I just found it rich that they're all standing on their high horse, banging their drum in this instance, and we have the record. There's no account of Congressman Crow or really any other Democrat calling for the resignation of Lloyd Austin when he literally went AWOL. Congressman Crow did use his military service as a bona fide in his debate with me, and I respect that. He served. I did not. But it doesn't inoculate him against criticism. And I think if he left his service weapon on the desert floor of Afghanistan, he might have been court-martialed at the very least, disciplined. So he has nothing when we leave $82 billion worth of military equipment in the sands of Afghanistan. He's concerned about classified documents here when it comes to Secretary Hegseth. Voiced no concern when General Mark Milley testifies that he would call the leader of China to warn them of an impending attack coming from the United States of America. And he has nothing to say, of course, as we talked about there, about the mistake in Afghanistan that led to 13 dead servicemen, 11 Marines among those 13. So that was the debate yesterday. One of the things I find fascinating, fellas, is alternate realities. So I'm not here to raise a championship belt above my head. I'm not here to take a victory lap around the ring. I'm truly not. I'll leave it to the viewer to decide who won or who lost. But I do see a lot of the comments, and I have seen the judges' scorecards. I just think it's a little interesting that you can create an alternate universe, and it should warn us all. My show has gotten into the crosshairs of the lefty clippers. They clip our show. Well, I don't even know how to pronounce some of their handles, but they do it. There was one called Vote for Vets. And they take like 30 seconds to a minute out of this debate, and they dunk. They react, and they go, Congressman Crow embarrasses Will Cain. And you could walk away from that if you're on the left, if that's your only information bubble, going, wow, this Will Cain guy really gets schooled on his program. And I just think it's like seeing an Instagram clip of a game where Luka, this hurts me to even use this analogy, but I'm going to do it. Luka has some amazing behind-the-back pass to LeBron for an open three, but the Lakers got beat by 30.
Pretty realistic.
Okay, awesome. Cool. But the Lakers lost by 30. I just think you could walk away, and much of the left and probably the Brooklyn Brunch crew can live in an alternate reality where it's just like, you saw 30 seconds of something that went on for 8 minutes, and you have the exact opposite view of reality. Go ahead, 2 days.
But even if they watch the full debate, they're still coming out of it thinking you lost, they won. Because they're coming into
and that's
it.
Fine.
Because they're coming into it anyways with a biased opinion of whatever is said. Their opinion is correct anyways, so they'll agree with whatever side they like.
Go ahead, James.
And it's also, I mean, it's hard too because it's just the way the game is played and the rules are written. Like I know folks that do these sorts of like reclips and stuff, and they'll watch a 9-minute thing. They'll be like, "Oh, I watched that whole thing. That was awesome." But my boss, it's got to be 50 seconds. Otherwise, it's just not going to be seen anywhere.
So somebody asked me the other day, do you get mad in these debates? I think I addressed this yesterday. And I don't. I don't get mad in these debates. I can get hot, but that's not the same thing as being personally angry.
Listen to me.
It didn't bother me, him saying, listen to me. It definitely did not bother me that he invoked his military service.
Yeah.
What bothers me is not also someone that listens to that entire thing with a preconceived or confirmed bias going in and comes out with that same position and thinks, oh, Will lost. Doesn't bother me. I guess what I realize is what bothers me is just blatant dishonesty. What I mean by that is manipulation. So these clip farm factories that paint an opposite reality of what happened. If, James, you selected 30 seconds that represented the rest of that conversation, I would feel differently. If I got my ass handed to me for 7 minutes and you found the perfect 30 seconds of that highlight, that would be different. If Luka's behind-the-back pass to LeBron for an open three represented the Lakers winning by 30, I wouldn't feel manipulated. But if it's in the opposite, then I feel like you're living in Alice in Wonderland. And that's why, for example, I never respond to people that I think are worthless, like Keith Olbermann and others. I don't. And I'm not trying to be personally insulting. I just am telling you the objective truth that I believe he's worthless. So I'm not going to respond to him. It's not worthy. But it particularly pisses me off when a beta Obama bro, Tommy Viter, uses that manipulation and falsehood. And so, yeah, I all of a sudden will fire back in that instance because your army of cucks and betas listening to Pod Save America all of a sudden has to live in an alternate reality. And I don't know. I mean, you know, at one point, I even think I had Tommy Viter booked. I honestly, I don't, maybe not. Because I'm also not being personally insulting when I say this.
I know.
I can't tell them apart. The Obama boys, I don't know who's who. They are all one amorphous dude sitting on a couch Indian style to me. Like, you're all the same guy. So, I mean, I see you at the coffee house, Obama boys, I guess. Order me a latte,
or
macchiato,
brunch.
please. I'll see you later. They're all the same. They're the same to me. And so I don't know which ones have been booked before, but I would have entertained the debate. But if this is who you are, and I actually have never listened to Pod Save America, so I don't actually know who they are, but I know who their public image is, and I know their clips. So maybe I'm doing the same thing, you know. But I just, I don't know. Maybe you're right, James. There's no above it. But we can. I can create a different environment.
Flip the table.
Based on the ratings the last 2 days, there's actually an audience that wants not Lucky Charms all day. There really is. There is an audience for steak. There is an audience who doesn't only want sweetened cereal. And so the day before, we also had Congressman Jim Himes on, Democrat, to have a very similar debate. I'm not going to argue that no mistake was made. And I'm not going to argue that Signal is the perfectly appropriate app to have this conversation. What I am going to argue with you is that you are hyperbolically taking this over the top, yes, absolutely, for partisan points, in order to score in the first time in 2 months. Don't do it on Signal. I agree. Don't do it on Signal.
Well,
but nobody's live.
You know what? Here's the
CIA
thing.
director.
You are the one who is making this into a partisan issue. And we are talking about the lives of our young men and women. And it makes me want to throw up to hear you turn this into a partisan issue when we are talking about the lives of our airmen and Marines and sailors. You just need to stop this. You cannot run a segment cheering Medal of Honor winners, many of whom win posthumously, and
you know what, I could run a segment on,
this
Congressman?
mistake is about partisan advantage.
It is. And I can run that segment, and I'm doing it with you right now, and I'll tell you something else. This isn't an administration that watched as 13 Marines died or spilled secrets to the Chinese Communist Party or did any of the other things that we just watched. It's hard to take you seriously, or that Jeffrey Goldberg is the hero in this story.
Wow.
Ooh.
Fired up.
He was hot. He was hot.
You got him, though.
I was a little hot on
him. You got him there.
It's
you know
funny, like, when we could see you start to smile in the middle of those, because it's like, you know, he's just walked right into something you want him to.
Yeah.
He's walked into your frame. Yeah.
I got to give him credit. The I want to throw up line's pretty good. It makes me want to throw up.
Nah,
I got to say,
that's
pretty
lame.
evocative.
That's lame.
He seemed to have more testosterone than most Democrats.
I want to throw up.
That's what kind of came off. You know, and
Well,
Step
I
Brothers.
hope, even though I'm breaking... yeah. Guys, Step Brothers holds up. It just holds up.
Yep.
Love Step Brothers. Of all the Will Ferrell movies, I think it might be holds up the most.
Yeah.
More than Talladega Nights. It retains, Step Brothers. I mean this, and I'm not saying this for false high road, falsely taking the high road. They're welcome on the Will Cain Show. I hope they continue to accept invitations. They just might be prepared for first take when it happens on the Will Cain Show. All right, quickly, I want to get to this. You guys put up a meme. Good job. Your most viral thing you've ever done on the Will Cain Show account. So bravo. Proud of you boys. You copied it. You plagiarized it from another meme, but that's all right.
That's how memes work.
Yesterday we talked about where you'd want to sit on a plane with various military leaders and presidents, dead and alive. You guys created one with Fox News personalities. And you put up, who would you sit with on a 10-hour flight? There's 10 rows that you get to pick from. And I'll describe it for those listening on radio, Spotify, or Apple. You can sit in row number 1 where you have a window seat next to Brett Baer, and on the aisle is Carly Shimkus. You can sit in row 2 in a middle seat between Will Cain and Peter Doocy. You can sit in row 3 on a window seat next to Laura Ingraham, and on the aisle would be Brian Kilmeade. You can sit on the aisle with Kayleigh McEnany on the window and Jimmy Fallon in the middle seat. And then you can sit in row 5 between Kennedy and Martha McCallum. Or go to the other side of the plane, and you can sit at the window next to Tommy Lahren. I think there's going to be a lot of takers on that option. Sit next to Tommy Lahren on the aisle would be Sean Hannity. You could sit in row 7 between Kat Timpf and Dana Perino. You could sit in row 8 on the aisle next to Jesse Waters. On the other side of Jesse is Jessica Tarlov. And then you could sit in row 9 at the window next to Bill Hemmer, who is sitting next to Shannon Bream. Or you could sit in row 10 between Greg Gutfeld and Guy Benson. Your flight attendant on this 10-hour flight is Judge Janine Pirro. You drinking what?
Who wants a cocktail?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You don't need any more.
You've had enough.
Yeah.
I'm
watching you.
I'd like a whiskey and ginger. No, you're not drinking whiskey and ginger.
It was a great thought.
Drink like a man.
Yeah.
All right. So good job. You guys put this out. Let's start with the problem first. Two-a-days, a little bit of an accountability bowl for you here. And guys, he was legit nervous about this on the text chain.
Shut it.
And today, walked in, he's like, oh, my God.
I sensed real insecurity from two-a-days last night on the text chain. Trace Gallagher jumped onto Twitter and goes, you left someone out, Will.
Yeah.
Which I said, Trace, I didn't build it. Dan Overlock did.
Gosh.
And you need to take it up with Dan Overlock.
Thanks.
I was waiting to hear from Lawrence, because how dare you leave Lawrence Jones off, or Tyrus. These are two friends of the Will Cain Show.
I know.
I mean, frequent guests, and Lawrence and Tyrus, and you left them off. What happened here?
So I was going with people I knew their personalities more. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know Tyrus's personality? This is what you're going to try to argue
That
for
was
me right now?
that was a misstep. I didn't think of Tyrus. Essentially, I don't know.
And you don't know Lawrence's personality?
I've never met Lawrence actually.
Racist. Put it back up. How many black guys are on the flight?
Man.
Put it up. How many black guys are on the flight?
We're not doing this.
Let me see.
We're not
would've
doing
thought?
this.
Put the image up. I
Who
know you're
would've
in
thought?
charge.
We're
Put it up.
We're not doing this.
Two-a-days. Put it up.
We're not
I'm
doing
going to count
this.
the black people on the flight.
We're not doing this.
Oh,
take full
my
responsibility
gosh.
for
Two-a-days.
We're not doing this.
I don't see a single African-American on the plane. What have you done? Wait until the Brooklyn Brunch crew hears about your segregated plane.
I may have. Yep. I'm at a loss for
It wasn't
words.
him.
I was trying to do my best.
Maybe Waters.
I was scared about. I was sad about leaving anyone out. I was going to do a part 2. Like I said when I sent it to you guys, I'm like, I'll do a part 2.
Oh, yeah, that'll go over well. Part 2 will be
stop.
great. It'll go
Oh,
viral.
Stop.
We should.
Everybody loves a sequel.
I am not.
and it
much-
won't feel gratuitous at all.
Yeah, I'm not much for losing words, but yeah, I did my best and thought it was fun.
Yeah, poor Trace. Trace noticed. And by the way, Trace was a great guy to sit next to and have a drink.
course.
Great guy.
See, I've never
You
really
put
met
me-
him. I've never really met him.
Honestly, I've never hung out with Ducey, if I'm being honest. You put me, if someone will sit between me and Lawrence or me and Tyrus or me and Trace, you want that row right
Ducey's
there.
a dude.
I promise you.
But Ducey's a dude.
That's a good.
He's a fun hang.
Yeah, I think I've met Ducey in person once.
Yeah.
And the rest of my interactions with Ducey, you've seen on camera. And then that one time I met Ducey, I realized he was 7'6". No lie, Ducey is 7'6".
Yep.
All right, so you guys can fill that out. Where would you sit on the airplane? It's up on the Will Cain Show Twitter feed, and you let Two-a-days know how big of a mistake he made, leaving all these huge Fox News personalities,
show now?
especially the minorities,
Is the show
off
over?
the plane.
Is the show over?
Kirk Cameron coming up on the Will Cain Show. Hey, have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. And he did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, body looks leaner, energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it. Go to chuckdefense.com/Cain. or by clicking on the link below this video. It's going to change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/CAIN, and click on the link in the description below to watch the video now. You're not going to believe how simple it is. And just a reminder, the legendary Chuck Norris is whopping 84 years old and yet has more energy than me, who is still today in his 40s. He discovered he could create dramatic changes to his health simply by focusing on 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. And by the way, won't be in my 40s starting tomorrow. chuckdefense.com/Cain. Kirk Cameron, next on The Will Cain Show. An announcement right here of a brand new television show for your kids with Kirk Cameron coming up on The Will Cain Show. Streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe at Apple, Spotify, over on YouTube or on Facebook. Set a reminder. Hey, and jump into the comments section. I just posted this on X, and I want your feedback as well on YouTube and Facebook. So if you go over to Twitter, this 10-hour flight with the Fox News personalities is up. It was built by Two-A-Days Dan and James Laverty. Don't let James out on this as well, because he helped assist in this endeavor. And so I've just asked this question. I'm just curious, and I've asked it of Lawrence and Tyrus. Is this racist? Is this racist?
It's not nice.
There are no black people on this flight, and
nice.
I would probably draft Lawrence or Tyrus, first. This would be who I would sit with. And it's not on here, and I didn't build it, so I think we need to launch an investigation of the staff.
You
and I'm going to start with Deputy Lawrence Jones and Deputy Tyrus to investigate.
You try to do something good for your job and do a good thing, and
in the nature of technological transparency, given the era that we live in, I think we should go through the computers and the computer history to see exactly how it was built and what mouse put the certain things
What are you suggesting?
He's literally just
he's
blaming me completely.
Yeah, I'm blaming Dan.
Well,
the evidence would show.
That's not where I'm taking it, James. I know you were involved in this, James. So
I sent it to my boss beforehand.
This is like The Apprentice.
I'm going to be curious. Did you have those guys on the flight and kick them off? Because that's going to be a whole different level. Was there a version of this draft that included Lawrence or Tyrus?
We're not.
And they were kicked off. So this is why we need an investigation. In fact, Senator Banks is going to be on later. I'm going to ask Senator Banks if there's something that the Senate can do, some type of committee that we can look into this, because we're about accountability here on the Will Cain Show. Okay, we're about accountability and transparency and sunlight. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. But joining us now for a big announcement is superstar. I don't know what other introduction he needs other than that, but it's Kirk Cameron live outside.
What's up, Will?
What's up, Kurt? You've got, as I understand it, by the way, those big wigs over on the channel had you booked today for a big announcement, but the arrest of an MS-13 gangster ran them short on time. Their loss, my benefit. We're announcing something right here, right now, with you, Kirk, on the Will Cain Show.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's great to meet you. Great to be on your show. Thanks, James. Thanks, Dan, for having me on. And yes, we're announcing something great. With so many great things happening in Washington, D.C., so many things happening all over the country, sort of up there at these upper levels where we're getting this air cover and this border control. We finally got something that moms and dads and grandparents can lean into as well to build the character and faith of the nation through our children for the next generation. And that ultimately is where we need to advance. And this is a brand new TV show for kids called Iggy and Mr. Kirk. We're bringing back Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street the way that it should be, where we're engaging kids' imaginations for good, not for wokeness. Disney demonstrates for us what a bad strategy that is. And we're engaging puppets like Kermit the Frog, only we've got an adorable little iguana that's learning lessons alongside of the 5-year-olds watching about truth and love and goodness and self-control. Finally.
Yeah. Here we go. Give them a round of applause, boys. James, Dan, Patrick, Iggy, and Mr. Kirk. All right, so I have some questions, Kirk. Let's talk about this thing.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to know more about the format. Mr. Rogers for our generation. I hear puppets. I hear Sesame Street. Obviously, I hear Mr. Rogers. So What we got? Skits. We got a through line plot, because I know this is also about you and your previous stuff that you've done on Freedom Island and bringing Iggy back. So tell me a little bit, like, if we watch, what is it going to remind us of?
Well, it's going to have serious Mr. Rogers vibes. We've even got our own mailman Dan, who every week delivers a storybook. And it's a great book for kids to read together with their parents or their grandparents. And then the whole episode revolves around the lesson in that brave book. So we've got live action actors like me and Lee Allen Baker from Disney's Good Luck Charlie. She's a former Disney star. We've got puppets like Big Bird and Kermit, only we have Iggy the iguana, and we even have a vulture named Culture, who's always lying to Iggy and deceiving him. Culture is the bad guy, but it also serves as a metaphor for our culture, for kids, and a reminder to Iggy is that culture is redeemable. We can turn him around. And there's other lovable puppets as well as beautiful animation. And there's a story reading time with lullabies and a blessing that comes straight from the Bible. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and give you peace.
Awesome. All right, I do want to dive more into the values of Iggy, Mr. Kirk, but first, I want to ask you a couple questions here, sort of like on the logistics and business end of it. So,
Sure.
Give me the target market. Like, what age kids are we talking about? Who's this geared towards?
4 to 8 years old. 4 to 8 years old.
4 to 8.
So if you've got littles in your world like I do, I've got 6 children. They're grown now, but now I have a granddaughter, and there's so many parents out there who are just lamenting over what's coming to their children. In fact, the more data that comes out, we're now concluding that overstimulating your kids with junk food TV shows poses just as much of a risk to parents as processed foods. The flashing lights, the jump cuts every 2 to 3 seconds, the non-diegetic sounds actually have negative brain impact on your kids after just 9 minutes. And so our show is developmentally designed for cognitive health, to nourish their hearts and minds with clear moral lessons and give your kids a sense of virtue and faith.
Oh, I love that. I buy 100% what you're saying on the junk food analogy and the way that the jump cuts, the lights, the sounds, and what it does to your brain. So back to the logistics for a minute in the business. So I've seen some interviews and I've seen you talk. This is going to be on YouTube, I believe. But I've seen you say in an interview that you're interested in all the streaming services, whoever is interested in Iggy and Mr. Kirk. What's here? I'm really genuinely curious about this, Kirk. What has been the reception? Like, if you go into a meeting with, say, and I don't know which ones you've talked to, but I'm just going to throw one out as just a hypothetical, Hulu. I don't know. But if you go talk to one of these guys, like, I'm just curious, back to culture, right? Those are the gatekeepers of culture. So I'm curious what the reception for this content is inside the culture. And when I say culture, Kurt, I don't mean the audience yet. I mean the gatekeepers of culture. Yeah.
The gatekeepers of culture. So, everything is shifting now, and the gatekeepers are waking up. Some of them, Disney's still not wanting to wake up. They just had a disastrous weekend at the box office. And when you strip projects that people love of what's true, beautiful, and good, parents are not happy. But with projects like The Chosen and others, the gatekeepers are now wondering, have we missed the message here that the American people are sending out? And yes, they have. Now everybody wants The Chosen. So with regard to Iggy and Mr. Kirk, I think they're waiting. They're waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. And so what I believe will happen is people are going to fall in love with Iggy, fall in love with the characters, and they're going to want the shows on all of these networks. Right now, you can see it on Brave Plus, which is a brand new streaming service. You just go to your smart TV and download the app at Brave Plus, and you can watch the first few episodes for free, and then you can sign up for all the seasons. And once that happens, I believe word of mouth will get to the gatekeepers, and they're going to say, hey, we're over here. Don't forget about us. Our name's Hulu. Our name's Netflix. Our name's Amazon Prime.
Right. On that note, over to the audience, and I love you invoking The Chosen. But it's not just The Chosen. Like, you have had personal experience in this in some of the books that you've written, your experience with Brave Books, other stuff you've done. And I don't know. I mean, on one hand, if I ask you this question, I think you'll be a little hesitant to give me numbers. And on the other hand, I don't know you, Kirk. We just met, like you said. I trust you. Other people always want to put a positive spin, but give me just intuitively from an entrepreneurial mindset, I would think there's fresh entrepreneurial ground to plow, that there is a thirsty audience for a certain type of content that I would think your life has validated, Kirk. And I don't know. I'm not asking you if you're killing it. I'm not asking if you're rich, in your second and third evolutions of your career, but have you found that to be true? And I mean literally from a market perspective, because to your point of these guys, whoever they are, Disney, Hulu, they're going to follow the market. So if you're finding markets of people who are, and I know you have with your books, or as you point out with Chosen, then they're going to follow. So how has it gone finding the audience?
Yeah, it's gone very, very well. So Brave Books is a scrappy group of people led by an entrepreneur who used to be an eye doctor, created a book company, starts making pro-God, pro-American books, getting them out to families. They've got over 150,000 families reading these books. And, parents are saying, wait a minute, we love the books, but we want to redeem screen time because our kids have iPads. Right. And their brains are rotting from the stuff coming from Nickelodeon and Disney and other places. And so they're responding with, please get this stuff to us. And when I show up in libraries and schools and churches all around the country, the parents and the grandparents are just cheering. And the kids are dancing around in their living rooms as they watch the first episode of Iggy and Mr. Kirk, and they want the little plushy Iggy so they can go to bed with him at night and sing the little lullaby that they are sung at the end of the show. So you're absolutely right. The market is declaring to the gatekeepers and to the content producers that they want something better than the garbage that is leading their kids to be ADD. They're almost all on Ritalin. It's negatively impacting their relationships, their abilities to learn. And, this is, I think, a whole awakening that's happening in America across all the different sectors. We're going to have an economic awakening. I think we're having a political awakening. I believe we're going to have a spiritual and moral awakening. And I think Hollywood is going to recognize that if you really do care about the bottom line, you need to understand that there is a new generation who wants to get back to the blessings that come from the values that made this a great country in the first place.
What I like about your answer is this is why I buy it. I ask you how well it's going. Okay. This is what I think. If it's going, this is how people answer. It's going good. And their voice goes up and they say, it's going good. Instead, you leaned into the camera, you went, it's going very, very good. You gave me two veries and a certain tone that suggests to me, and it is truly going very, very good.
I don't see all the bottom lines with the parent companies that's funding the show and all of that. But what I can tell you is that I do go to local public libraries, and when the library director, who's got purple hair and is part of the Alphabet Army, tells me they're not interested, the people in our community don't want you here or hear your message. And then I show up and there's 3,000 parents and grandparents filling 6 floors of a downtown Indianapolis library out the door into the parking lot. That gives me a clue that we've struck a chord.
Right. Okay, last thing with you. I told you I wanted to come back to the values. So again, I saw you say this, and you said it here with me today. It's garbage. So much of what we're provided, but here's what I think you said this. Well, you used this word. So I think we sort of categorize everything we're offered into one of two things: good or bad, right? And garbage or something else. But I was thinking about this, and you used the word mindless. So even if somebody's watching or listening, and you're like, "Well, my kid watches." Both of my boys are older now, so I don't even know what the latest is. What they watching their kids? Wonder Pets? Like, if I look back on Wonder Pets, I don't remember what the lessons were. But even if they weren't garbage, they were mindless. Or they were tropes and cliches of, like, be nice to everyone, which is a fine thing to say, right? But whatever. It's simplistic, and some of it has to be because you're talking about 5-year-olds. But there's a difference between being not just bad and exceeding beyond mindlessness, right? Like think of it as scale. You got bad, you got mindlessness, and then what you're talking about is true nutrition, positive values for the kids that they're going to get through watching your programs. What are those values?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't want to just give our kids emptiness that occupies their time. And we certainly don't want the poison. What we want to entertain children because imaginations are important. This is the creatives of the future. We want their minds to ignite with creativity. And at the same time, we can instill virtue and character. And we can frame the world in such a way that they learn to value their mom and dad, their families, to love others, to be kind, compassionate, and to recognize that pride is not a virtue. Humility is where the blessings are at. And then know where to go for truth. You know, if you ask somebody, where do you go for truth? And someone tells you, I'm going to CNN, you know we got a problem, right? Because everything's are so spun and bent. And when kids want to know stuff about gender, or they want to know stuff about relationships, they want to know something about God, you go ask Alexa or Siri, they have no wisdom. Wisdom comes most often from a parent who is showing up, investing the time, and really prioritizing faith, hope, and love. And that's, at the end of the day, what I want my legacy to be about. I'm 55 years old. I've got a granddaughter. I'm not trying to escalate a career to win a Leonardo DiCaprio Academy Award. I'm really wanting to come to the end and say, you know, he loved his family and he did what he thought was right and good. And I think parents want that everywhere. And so we're working together to make this the #1 new kids TV show, Iggy and Mr. Kirk.
Awesome, Kirk. Awesome answer to end on as well. I appreciate that legacy talk and that value of wisdom, especially in the age of AI, the value of human wisdom. Or it's not even human wisdom. It's spiritual wisdom, which we hope to access as humans. But I love that, what you hope for your legacy, Kirk. And we'll make sure that encourage everybody to check out Iggy and Mr. Kirk. Thank you so much for making that announcement today here with us.
Will, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Your work's important and you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. All right, there he goes. Kirk Cameron. Check it out. He told you where. Brave Plus is the app. I think he also said it's going to be up on YouTube as well. I think it's worth your time. Iggy and Mr. Kirk. Don't just plug in. By the way, with kids, you know, like they don't have to be a part of the zeitgeist. Like, you know, Dan and I can sit around and talk about White Lotus. Kids don't have to sit around and talk about Wonder Pets. So you can chart a new path. You know, you can pioneer, trailblaze a new path of values. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll ask Senator Jim Banks whether or not my staff is racist. Next on The Will Cain Show. Preliminary results on the investigation. Special Prosecutor Lawrence Jones has weighed in on the 10-hour flight put together, viral 10-hour flight of Fox News personalities put together by the staff here at The Will Cain Show. The question of the day, of the moment, really, and it could be a question of the year. It's burning up the nation. Is it racist? This is The Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. On a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable are you right now, two-a-days?
Like the most, I think if it went to 12, that would be my answer. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" She's texting me, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Is Will being hard on you? Are you okay?"
Does she listen and watch live?
She does sometimes, because I mentioned this may come up, and she wanted to be there for support for me.
Did you know that the race angle would come up?
No.
Did it occur to you last night?
No.
Because it didn't occur to me until live on the show as I was looking at the image.
I just knew
it didn't occur to me that you had left out all the black people until I once again saw the image. And that's when. So I wondered when you started getting nervous. I just thought, because I don't see the world through race, Dan, like you. So I just thought, man, you left out some big personalities. Dude. Like you left out. I mean, Lawrence,
I know I
come
did.
on.
I know I did.
And it's like,
I'm sorry, Lawrence.
You're
amazing.
And it's like, wow, it's almost purposeful, and that's why we have to have this investigation. Like, I mean, It's like,
Oh, my
wow.
God.
You know? I mean, he's the host of Fox and Friends
Man.
and a friend of mine. I mean, this is why we need an investigation.
I knew I would leave.
And you said, and a minute ago, James testified to this. He said just a minute ago, we are taught not to do this. And I was like, whoa, what are we talking about here? HR? And he said, no, Democrats. I said, oh, you're a we? You're a Democrat?
No,
You're a we?
No. Was.
Was. Okay.
I grew up in Connecticut.
That's okay. I appreciate that.
I grew up in a
Yeah, I
very
appreciate
liberal
that.
area, and you're indoctrinated with all these
So did
things
I.
that you're supposed to be, right? And supposed to be
And how did those teachings take? How did you arrive at this moment after all those teachings?
just a complete failure of the Democratic Party to
That's where you have to go. This is some self-reflection here.
Democrats.
Q&A.
the Democrats have failed me, so I'm blaming it on the Democrats.
Tinfoil's losing it
That's
over
pretty
here.
smart.
Tinfoil's muted, but I can see he's losing it.
Yeah, I'm blaming it on the Democrats. There's nothing I can do
Give me
about
a
it.
coughing fit. Can't handle it.
All right. Well, we are awaiting
still
Senator
waiting,
Jim
yeah.
Banks to join us any moment now, but we do have some preliminary investigations from a couple of investigators. Jimmy Fela has informed us on
He's
X.
my boy too.
Trump has just announced a special prosecutor. So that's good. I knew this would be something the White House would pay attention to.
That 2 days we gotta investigate. Very important.
And Lawrence has jumped in, and Lawrence said, nah, he's saying it's not racist. He says, nah, we only fly private. They know.
Yeah, see, I
They know.
texted Lawrence and he told me that, so that's why. You know.
Uh-huh. Did you text Lawrence?
No, I've never met Lawrence.
You never
Tyrus
met
can't
Lawrence?
fly private, by the way.
What?
Why
Too
can't
much
Tyrus
weight
fly
for the
private?
plane.
Are you racist too? What's going on here?
He's a big guy. He can't fly. It'd be too much weight.
Wow,
Oh
now
my
we're weight
gosh,
shaming.
I've got a staff.
Weight shaming?
What is going on here?
It's not a weight. It's
Oh,
like he's a
yeah,
big
see
guy.
how you
He's
like
he's
it
a
now.
muscly guy. He's got.
Yeah, see
big,
how you
strong
like it now.
biceps.
Yeah.
And why would a muscly big person not be able to fit on a private jet, Patrick? It would seem like that would be the
those are
perfect
smaller
place.
planes. They have weight limits.
Well, what about the seats?
Never seen a
I don't
G5.
know. Well, to be fair, I've never been on a private plane.
I mean, we have some real problems here behind the scenes. Real problems with the ADA and with the NAACP. We have real problems that need to be investigated here. I'm waiting for a text from a boss to go drop it now, Will. Let it go.
Yeah, please. Like, you're safe. I'm not.
Come on. I tell you what, there's a good chance Lawrence is tuned in now that he knows this is going on. Just
Hi,
go ahead and
Lawrence.
call in,
I'm
Lawrence.
sorry.
Just call my cell phone, Lawrence. Here. You know what? I'm calling Lawrence. No, I'm going to do it. Since we're waiting on the senator, I'm going to call Lawrence, and we're just going to get this done in real time, and then we can put it behind us. So any of my bosses, some of which I know you listen to from time to time, if you're listening, I'm going to put it behind us in a moment. But I think you have the same interest in me. Do we have a problem inside, behind the scenes, not on air, of course, of the Will Cain Show? Let's just see. It is, by the way, odds are he screens me. Okay. I'm used to getting screened these days. Okay.
The senator has just sat.
Where is Lawrence at 12:45 on?
Ooh.
Lawrence.
Just being mad at me.
It's
is
like
what
trying to
he's
reach.
doing.
Maybe try Tyrus.
It's trying to reach the
Eating broke-
Secretary of Defense.
I'm going to get a strongly worded email from Lawrence being like, sir, how dare.
He's
Okay.
big. He big
Probably
leagues.
If
some
it
Brooklyn
needs to be
barbecue by now.
said-
It's lunch hour.
if the comedy hasn't been clear, if it needs to be said, I'll do this for you, Dan.
I know.
Okay. If it needs to be said, of course
I know.
he's not racist.
I know.
I'm going to say it in case,
Thank you for
You never
clarifying
know
for
with the
everybody.
audience sometimes. Some audience, sarcasm is often lost on people. So I'm going to have to, I'm just going to say it for the record, okay? He didn't leave Lawrence and Tyrus off because of their race. He thought they weren't big enough stars.
Yo, we are ending the show now. God, man.
Poor Dan had
We're
nothing but
homies,
good
too.
intentions. Poor Dan had nothing but good intentions, and he's been crushed today. I appreciate him doing it. Please do it in the future. But I loved it, and Dan is an innocent party, 100%. Let me now bring in, if we might, Senator Jim Banks, Senator from Indiana, fixing his jacket, getting straight. You come into the wrong environment, Senator, if you think this is going to be all about being just straight-laced. Sorry. There we go. You just came back from a vote, Senator, right? You had to run out. So I understand why you had to put your jacket
I
on.
raced to get back. Good to be with you.
Hey, Senator, is there a dress code when you make your way into the chamber for a quick vote? Like, do you have to throw the coat and tie on? What's the decorum on that?
I got busted a couple of weeks ago. I came straight from the airport. I had on khakis and a jacket with a tie, but I had my sneakers on, and they would not let me onto the floor of the United States Senate. And I thought, I look over my shoulder and I see Fetterman in a hoodie, and I thought, how does this guy get away with it? And I can't wear my sneakers onto the floor coming straight from the airport. So, kind of a lesson in Senate decorum, and I'm still trying to figure that one out.
No, you got to help me understand that. And I'm not doing a partisan thing. I'm serious. So, okay, there's a dress code. You can't wear your sneakers onto the floor of the Senate. Okay, I get it. But then, Fetterman does wear, and I by the way, I sort of like Fetterman and what he's doing and how he's blazing his own sort of independent path. And so I'm not like taking a cheap shot. I'm genuinely curious at the inconsistency. He's wearing tennis shoes, right, with that hoodie?
So he can't wear the hoodie onto the Senate floor, but he can stand in the doorway and say yes or no, and they record his vote just by doing that. So he doesn't walk onto the floor. I tried to walk onto the floor with my sneakers, was prevented from doing that. So I was able to do the same thing from the doorway, cast my vote, and go find some dress shoes to wear for the next time.
So he stands outside and gives thumbs up, thumbs down. How fascinating. I don't know. That escaped my attention. I'm very interested in that. Okay. I think I want to start. Do I want to start on a positive note or a negative note? Let's start on a negative note. Let's start with NPR. Let's start with some of what went down in the House yesterday. So Catherine Marr, head of NPR, was there, and Congressman Brandon Gill was really cross-examining her on some of the stuff she said in the past. In fact, let's share a little bit of that with the audience of how it went between Gill and Marr.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall.
Do you believe?
That's really fascinating exchange. I mean, you have a bill, Senator, to defund NPR, I believe. But I don't know how she. Wow, that's pretty brave, by the way. Just here's your words. Don't remember, didn't say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just goes to show how unserious these people are who run NPR. Over $100 million of taxpayers have spent giving to a left-wing propaganda media outlet. It would be like the taxpayers funding Breitbart on the right, except for Breitbart is accurate, and you can go there and actually read the news. With NPR, it is a left-wing propaganda outlet. And she proved it yesterday. I had my own run-in with NPR back in the first Trump term. The CEO at the time was a guy named John Lansing. And he came to my office after earlier in my political life, I thought I could go on NPR and do interviews and maybe educate people and maybe get a fair shot to talk about the news of the day. And I did an interview. You might remember this. It was related to the Russian collusion hoax and the first impeachment hearings about the phone call between President Trump and Zelensky. And I did an interview, and in the interview, I talked about how Adam Schiff lied about coordinating with the whistleblower. In fact, at the time, there was a New York Times story of all places that confirmed that Adam Schiff was in touch and coordinating with the whistleblower, but Adam Schiff was telling people that he'd never met or talked to the whistleblower. And in an NPR interview in 2019, I said that Adam Schiff lied about it. The interview ended. It aired on NPR. And with NPR, these interviews, different time zones, so they'll run every hour in different markets. And NPR's listeners backlashed against me so much for saying that Adam Schiff lied that NPR they put up a story. They'd never done it before. They fact checked me and said that I lied about Adam Schiff lying. Over time, it was proven that I was right, but it was my own case proving what we already know, that NPR is a propaganda outlet that defends and supports the Democrat Party, is anti-Republican, and all the while the taxpayers are funding it, and that's the shame of it. We finally have a president, who gets it and wants to defund NPR, do something about it. I stand with him on that. That's why I've introduced this bill. I introduced it 2 or 3 times in the House. I'm brand new to the Senate. I've introduced the Defund NPR Act in the Senate for the first time. I'm getting co-sponsors. To me, this is common sense. It's long past time to take taxpayer dollars away from a left-wing propaganda outlet. We're gonna do everything that we can to make sure that happens.
So I want to ask you a curiosity that I have. So what you said is undoubtedly true with anyone with a modicum of common sense or who has ever at all paid attention to the reporting of NPR. It is not close. We're not talking about a 51-49 lean to the left. We're talking about a hard lean to the left. However, if you see a lot of these polling and by the way, even some left-wing groups are the ones that put these things together on who's objective, who's far right, who's far left. You've probably seen all that stuff. NPR always scores well, right? And that's bled over. There is a segment of the American public that's like, well, NPR, that's unbiased. That's truth-telling organization, right? And I don't know, my curiosity with you is why? When something can be that far left but still ride under the cover of we are more of an objective truth teller than, say, Fox, right? It's really interesting as to why. And I'll forward you 2 theories. One, just legacy, just a legacy brand over time that has been built on that. And the other is tone. I always say this, and I know how it affects my career. I truly do. I think it was Ronald Reagan's communication advisor that said it is 80% how you look, it's 15% how you sound, it's 5% what you actually say. And he's not saying that's right or wrong. He's just saying that's how audiences consume a message. And that 15% of how you sound, maybe the tone of NPR just makes everybody go, oh, they're so calm and drolling, and therefore it's got to be true.
So you're saying the tone is deceptive, which I
guess I don't know.
Let me add another theory to that.
Senator, it's easier to listen to Keith Olbermann and know you're dealing with a ranting lunatic than the host of NPR.
Let me add another layer to that. If you're a normal person, you don't sleep and breathe politics every day, you listen to NPR on the radio when you drive to work, maybe you like some of the entertaining the quiz shows, or some of the entertain, maybe the NPR, like the music or something. So maybe you're drawn to that, and then you hear the NPR news and you think to yourself, well, the government's paying for this, so of course it has to be unbiased. Right, $100 million of taxpayer dollars going to fund NPR. Of course, I mean, maybe some people, maybe it's just the fact that it's paid for by taxpayer dollars that gives it an unfair reputation that doesn't hold up, and then gullible people listen to it and think that really is the news, and not realizing that indeed it is propaganda. But let me add one more note to that. Last year, a senior editor at NPR, somewhat of a whistleblower, spoke the truth about what's going on there, and said that at the NPR headquarters, there are 87 registered Democrats in editorial roles, 0 Republicans. So that proves the point that we're making. This is not a news outlet. They don't deserve our taxpayer dollars. In fact, it's un-American that we would allow our taxpayer dollars to fund an outlet, a propaganda outlet like that. That's why we
totally
have to
agree.
It's long past time to stop it.
It's actually scandalous. It's actually scandalous that we would fund something like that. But yet still, let's just deal with a little bit of reality. Like, okay, that could probably get through the House. Oh, can that get through the Senate?
Well, something like that, 60 votes in the Senate, except for the reconciliation bills, the one big beautiful bill that's working its way through the House and the Senate, which triggers a rule in the Senate that only requires 50 votes to pass something. So it's a great place for us to pass spending cuts in the reconciliation bill for something like this. And then on top of that, there's something called rescission packages that OMB, that the White House can offer to the Congress. And I hope that zeroing out NPR funding will be a part of a rescission package if it's not a part of the reconciliation package. So, Will, there are ways to make it happen, to get it done without 60
That's what Senator
votes.
Paul's been talking about, right? Rescission?
Yes.
Is that,
he's exactly right about it.
Okay. And you guys are going to put a rescission bill together. So that's going to be, it's not an either or something. That's going to be in addition to all the rest of the budgeting.
It has to be. Yeah. But the rules require that it comes from the White House. It's not something that Rand Paul or Jim Banks can draw up in the Senate and offer on the Senate floor. The rescission package has to come from the OMB director, Russ Vought, to start that process. So Senator Paul and a lot of us are pushing on the White House to send that to us immediately. You might recall that right before the recess last week, we passed the full year CR. I don't know if that's ever happened before, a full year CR. And it's not perfect. It's not ideal. There are lots of parts of that many of us don't like, but it took all of the negotiating room away from the Democrats. So we passed the full year CR, but that doesn't cut all of the programs that Elon and Doge and the Trump administration are finding, all of these horrible, awful, woke, pro-transgender ideologies at embassies around the world and studies in departments. Even though Elon and Doge are zeroing out those line items now, it doesn't permanently cut them for the future. And that's why we need a rescissions package. That's why we need to cut it in the reconciliation bill to make sure that these programs like NPR are cut out completely and doesn't come back again the next time that there's a funding fight.
All right, let's do this. I said I also want to do some positive. So both Dr. Marty Makary and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya are ready to take their seats leading NIH and CDC, right? And
FBA.
This is a really remarkable moment. It's a remarkable moment that, people at home often don't pay attention to, cabinet appointments, much less department appointments and this type of thing, because most of the time it's keeping the trains running on time in America, or at least that's the way we think of it. There are actually revolutionary things that happen under the covers, but this is actually revolutionary and on its face revolutionary because these two guys were such outliers during a national panic, during a national pandemic panic. And Bhattacharya was part of the Great Barrington Declaration, I believe, and censored and so forth. Makary was a truth teller here on Fox and other places from Johns Hopkins. I don't know. I think it's not. I get excited about who the Cowboys are going to draft in the first round. It's rare I get excited about somebody who's going to be appointed to lead CDC. But I don't know. This is really exciting, Senator.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Bhattacharya himself, you think about that. I don't know if I can describe it, but every now and then on social media, you'll see that photo of the massive crowd of people, and they're all saluting Hitler. And then there's that one guy who's got his hands down and showing the groupthink, right? And that's Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya was the guy who was saying that everyone else in the public health community, all of the so-called experts are wrong. That's the Great Barrington Declaration. He spoke out against the lockdowns. He said this is bad for our kids. By the way, I have three school-age daughters in public schools. They were, watching the raw deal that they got through the lockdowns and COVID. They were the ones that got the biggest raw deal. And Dr. Bhattacharya was the one guy out there saying that this is bad for society. It's bad for our kids. It's bad for our country. And then you turn around and President Trump picks that guy. He says, I want that guy to lead the NIH. Never forget, too, that the NIH is where Dr. Fauci worked. So this guy who became an outcast, the whole public health establishment, they all hated him. They still hate him. And now he's confirmed to lead the agency, the institution that outcasts him to begin with. That says more about President Trump than it does about Bhattacharya. That President Trump is serious about trying to fix the wrongs that came out of the last 4 years. Dr. Makary at FDA. I mean, you think about the Make America Healthy Again agenda and what FDA does to approve our drugs, and to truly get this country in a healthier place than where we've been. Mental health issues. I've had a lot of talks with. I sit on the HELP committee, where we will directly be working with Secretary Kennedy and Bhattacharya, Dr. Makari. I just had the president's nominee for the new Surgeon General come into my office, and she's really focused on this MAHA movement and how the Surgeon General can be a key point person and talking about public health in the country in a big way. So you're right. Well, this is really exciting. It's an area that doesn't get enough attention. But you look at what happened during the lockdowns and COVID, and that shows you why it matters. And President Trump is hell-bent on making sure that never happens again.
Senator, I don't think I've ever asked you this, and I'm going to run the risk of putting you in a position having to say Harvard. But are you Indiana guy? Are you a Notre Dame guy? What? Thank goodness. I was really nervous you were going to say Princeton. Who was it I did that? The other day, guys, I did that with somebody. I was like, we're going to talk good state college, and then they had to run off Ivy League. And I could see the shame in their eyes when they had to announce that they went to Yale. But, yeah, so you're an Indiana guy.
That's right. It took me 8 years to graduate. It's a great school. It's a great basketball. I was there when they fired Bobby Knight, the dark days of Indiana basketball history. So I paid my way through school. I come from a pretty humble background. I grew up in a trailer park. My dad is a retired union factory worker. My mom was a cook in a nursing home. I was the first in my family to go to college. So I paid my way through college, and that's probably not why. I think I ended up with a 2.1 or 2.2 GPA when I finally graduated Indiana University. But I was pretty damn proud of it to come out of it with a degree. And look at me now. I mean, only in America could a kid who comes from that be a United States senator and have the opportunity that I've had.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love this country. This is the greatest country in the history of the world. And I am determined every single day that I have here to protect that American dream, that a kid from a trailer park grows up and does what I've been able to do. That's what I want for my daughters. That's what I want for your kids, for our grandkids, to protect that for the future of this country. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. You need to be corrected on one small thing. You're a football school now. By all accounts and records and recent history, you're a football school over a basketball school currently.
Right. We had a great
I don't expect that to last.
I do.
And by the way, you do. Good for you. Good for you. Maybe you know something about your NIL program that I don't know, but history has a way of reverting back to the mean. And by the way, it was Senator Cotton. You got to be an Arkansas Razorback, and he had to shamefully say, no, I don't know. What Ivy League school is it? You probably know, Senator.
Harvard.
I don't know which one he had. Harvard. Okay. Yeah.
I think Liz Warren was one of his professors.
Well, he made it through that, it appears, without too much indoctrination. I love it that we're in a place, though, where somebody has to be ashamed. They're ashamed to say they went to Harvard over the University of Indiana or University of Arkansas. That's what I like. I want that, America. Right. Senator, it's great to have you on the show. You're always welcome, both here and at 4 o'clock, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.
You got it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, Senator Jim Banks of Indiana. Okay, before we go, we need to just give one more shot at clearing the record here. 2 days, hold your breath. I've never double dialed in the matter of an hour. He may wonder where the fire is. Is it more embarrassing to get screened twice?
Yes.
Or
your call has been
wow.
I don't even feel like that was a full ring.
No, it was
that
not.
wasn't like, enough rings.
Are you guys even friends?
He just big
That was a
twice.
manual decline. That was a manual decline. We all agree, right?
Maybe he started his investigation.
Oh. That was a manual decline. You hit decline. I know what you did.
No. I'm in jiu-jitsu.
You're in jiu-jitsu. You're on air. You're on air.
No.
Yeah.
Why would you do such a thing?
Because I need you to. Was my staff racist leaving you off the plane?
Hey.
Is that?
They were not racist. I ride private only. You didn't realize that? You may have gotten the big show at 4 o'clock, but I think I'm getting a little bit of bonus pay, so that's all I'm doing is private.
Did jiu-jitsu end, or did you just say, hold on, guys, there must be a fire, he's called me twice?
I finished hour 1.
Okay.
I saw my phone, and I said, okay, this is another call. So before I start hour 2, perhaps I should call him back.
2 hours of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good endurance, man.
Good. Okay, hey,
Good endurance.
Lawrence, I don't really know what to say about tinfoil Pat or two-a-days. Dan or Young Establishment James, but you're welcome on my plane any day. I just want you to know that, okay?
Come on.
Is it a real plane or is it one of those like crop duster planes?
Why, are you going to decline? If you and I are in one of those two-seaters, or you sitting in front and me behind, are you declining, you're saying?
The glasses.
I'm not getting in. I'm just not going to do it.
Okay. All right, have a good roll. Good luck.
I appreciate you, brother. See you at 4 o'clock.
All right, take care, man. There goes Lawrence Jones. All
Thanks
right.
for that. Appreciate
I feel
it.
a little redeemed. He called me back. And you should feel redeemed as well, two-a-days.
Sure.
There you go. All right, fun show today. Thanks for joining us here on the Will Cain Show. We will see you again for the Cain on Sports edition tomorrow. Same time, same place, live Monday here on the Will Cain Show.